The third episode of Walking with Beasts, Land of Giants, not to be confused with the Chased by Dinosaurs episode of the same name, is set during the late Oligocene, 25 million years ago in Mongolia, and was filmed in Arizona. Side note here is that Whale Killer was also filmed in Mexico, as well as Florida, which I forgot to mention. The episode starts out at night, as we see an adult Indricothea striding into view.
Oh, cool, night vision.
The Indricothea is heavily pregnant and about to give birth in a secluded canyon. This behaviour and animation looks just like a giraffe, and it looks great. Using some subtle imagery, the baby falls out onto the ground, and we see a close-up of its practical effect. This is the species Paraceratherium. Though never stated within the episode, it's only ever referred to as an Indricothea, and it lived from 34 to 23 million years ago. It is widely regarded as one of the contenders for the largest terrestrial mammal ever to have existed. In terms of height, it was likely the tallest, but for length and sheer body mass, the extinct elephant species Paleoloxodon was probably larger overall. It's stated as being 12 to 15 tons in weight and 8 meters tall, whereas this may be an underestimate for the weight, as fully grown males weighed 20 tons and females 15 tons. Later in the episode, two males are shown to fight over the female by necking, which is something that modern giraffes do, and it's likely these animals behave this way as well. It's basically perfect in terms of accuracy, except for perhaps the lack of a small trunk like modern tapirs, and it has a different model for adults and young, with the young having a shorter, stockier build and neck with larger features. It works very well. The skin texture is also amazing and really holds up. Funnily enough, these animals were the inspiration for the Atat walkers in The Empire Strikes Back. They would have been a marvel to witness if they were still alive, and they were highly successful mammals. Ultimately, their demise was likely down to the arrival of new large species of mammals which outcompeted them in their environment. The climate may have also had an impact on this. Narration states that this has been a 2-year pregnancy for the mother, which is similar to that of modern elephants and makes sense for such a large animal. Unfortunately for the newborn calf, however, a pair of hyenodons are watching and waiting for their chance to strike. They look so spooky with the eye shine. Cut to a quick zoom shot, which is really cool. So these animals were definitely not as big as rhinos, despite the narration saying so. They were more bear-sized, and should also have a slightly longer snout, but overall the depiction is good. They are also not known from the late Oligocene, instead only coming from the early Oligocene, and they lacked the protruding saber teeth seen in this design. They are depicted as capable of eating everything on a carcass, like modern hyenas, which can crush bone, but hyenodon teeth were more designed to shear flesh off rather than crush it. Their design is pretty cool with the khaki brown and cream stripes running down the back. Looks fitting for an ambush predator. This hunting behaviour is beautifully done, as the hyenodons corral the mother Indricothea. She keeps the calf between her legs where she can defend it with powerful kicks. If a modern day giraffe's kick can kill a lion, I dread to think what an Indricothea kick could do. This mother seems more than capable of defending her calf.
But the hyenodon keep coming and coming.
All through this scene, sinister music plays, which builds to a fanfare of the main theme of this episode, Gentle Giants. A beautiful track that rivals Time of the Titans in its majesty and awe, likely reflecting the similar notes and grandeur for these enormous animals, which rival the dinosaurs in size. Oh, and baby bear sounds. That's a very dramatic way to open an episode, and it's done really well. The scene of conflict fades to black before showing the titles in front of sunrise over the canyon. The music fades silently, only giving a taste of the full potential, with some piano notes drifting away. Excellent. Like New Dawn, there are some stunning shots of light casting through the trees, as narration mentions quote-unquote catastrophic climate change, which is again referring to the Grand Coupure, but this episode takes place after this event. The climate is now highly seasonal, with dry and wet seasons. We see a cameo of the Calicothea wandering through some gorgeous light shafts before cutting to the canyon and the Indricothea mother and calf. The calf practical effect looks amazing in the sunlight. Narration explains that the mother saw off the hyenodons. How we will never know, but likely they gave up and went on search for easier prey, hopefully Emily Merchant. The calf is busy learning how to walk, which is a vital skill to be able to do almost from birth for prey animals. Many modern herbivorous species today, such as wildebeest, have this ability too. Wandering back into the episode again is the Calicothea, now given the full spotlight, for now at least. Their design is pretty much perfect for shape and size, however the species Calicotherium is actually only known from the Miocene, and not the Oligocene. Either way it looks very nice, with a very panda-like face and lifestyle. The close-up of their claws done by a practical effect is a nice touch as well. These species walk on their knuckles to keep their claws sharp, much like anteaters. Calicotheres are also distantly related to modern horses, which you can sort of see with their long faces. We see their claws in action alongside the practical effect as it browses for leaves. Unfortunately, this is all the Calicotheres really do in this episode, apart from being savaged by a hyenodon later. The Intricathere calf, meanwhile, is busy suckling and will be protected by his mother for 3 years, which is similar to modern rhinos, who often invest the same sort of time to their offspring. The visuals of the canyon and sandy dunes are particularly stunning in this episode. Elsewhere by a lake, a family of bear dogs enjoy their morning drink, before they are rudely interrupted by a thirsty entelodont.
It is survival of the meanest. And they don't come much meaner than this.
Because the narration only ever refers to them as entelodonts, we can't be sure of which species is seen in the episode. Most would say it would be entelodon, which lived from 37.2 to 28.4 million years ago, but it's more likely to be para-entelodon, since that species did live within this episode's setting. Para-entelodon was also larger, and fits with what's seen. They are no longer thought to be closely related to pigs, unlike what the episode says, and are instead more closely linked to Andrewsarchus and other relatives such as hippos and even whales, which the model doesn't really reflect. It should also be more semi-aquatic like a hippo, with a much broader snout. The Walking with Beasts model is really shrink-wrapped for some reason, so it looks like the bones are just under the skin, jutting out from the mouth. Its design is still iconic, however, with the angry red face and bulky body. And it's true that entelodonts did resemble pigs, even if they weren't, which has led to the amazing nicknames they have, including Hell Pigs and Terminator Pigs. Those names alone instill terror, and it's definitely something you wouldn't want to encounter. Despite their fearsome appearance, they were most likely omnivorous and not entirely predatory, which is actually shown in the episode when one browses on some leaves. Their fossils have also been found with huge wounds in them, suggesting another super predator was around at the time, but these wounds were inflicted by other entelodonts.
Entelodonts are their own worst enemy.
Intraspecific conflict is not surprising given the attitude of these things. Some of the creators of this show imagined what it would be like if an entelodont was still alive today. This clip goes hard on showing this from the Triumph of the Beasts making of documentary. This model briefly appears in the BBC adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, which came out the same year, where one is brutally killed by Roxton. This design also appears in the game Wildlife Park 2, along with the Gastornis and Macrauchenia, who all share exact designs from Walking with Beasts. The game also includes Basilosaurus, Smilodon, and woolly mammoths, but their designs are different. Overall, this animal isn't great accuracy-wise, but isn't terrible either, because of all the behaviour it exhibits. The poor bear dogs flee to the other side of the lake, only to be interrupted again, this time by the mother Intricathere. Hey, at least this one has living offspring. This is the species Cynodictis, but it's only ever called a bear dog in the episode. Like most species, it's not given a proper name, just a genus name. Cynodictis came from the early Oligocene, 37.2 to 28.4 million years ago, so it's a time traveller. It shares the same model and texture as the Lesmezodon from New Dawn, and it certainly resembled modern canids. It was only 30 centimeters high at the shoulder, however, so the individuals that appear in this episode are likely oversized. Otherwise, its general body appearance seems to hold up quite well. Size matters, according to Kenneth, as the larger residents of the Oligocene take charge of the watering hole. The mother Intricathere drinks despite her calf not being present. Did the hyenodon come back? I want answers! A second entelodont arrives and begins battle with the first, with the appropriately named Hogsbullet track starting to play. Strings and brass swell in this track, which actually got used for the Basilosaurus at the end of the last episode, albeit a different section. Lovely grotesque entelodont head puppet. The mother Intricathere doesn't need this in her life, and leaves. The lens flare when the two entelodonts fight is really nice as they tussle with one another's jaws. Oh, and the dust hitting the lens also helps put the viewer right in there with them. Great immersion, but why does the sand dune behind them look so pixelated? The fight ends with the loser retreating, having received multiple injuries on its face, and looking fittingly upset with all the red paint that's been put there. That's one way to introduce Entelodont, and a very impactful way too.
Back in the canyon, the calf lies motionless. He is playing dead. Until disturbed, that is.
So is there actually a cameraman within this episode? Curious. The calf finds another spot to practice this survival strategy of remaining still to avoid predators.
Don't move! Can't see us if we don't move.
When the mother eventually returns, the calf comes out of hiding. The full theme of the Intricatheres starts to play, and it is magnificent. Swelling music to accompany the travelling of these gigantic animals from the canyon to the open plains. One really cool thing is the droopy ear of the mother Intricathere, which is just such a nice little detail. Now that is an awesome shot. The wide shot after is equally as breathtaking. There's a very Lost World Jurassic Park-esque shot here with the camera panning through the legs of the Intricathere, similar to how the motorbike drives under the Mamenchisaurus. It's really cool to see multiple large adult Intricatheres swaggering about, and the compositing is done perfectly. Here we see what I think is a couple of fisheye lens shots, which give an interesting perspective on these giants. Their size is really shown off in these shots, with the strings accentuating from the music, and the animation of the muscle jiggle is easily as good as the Diplodocus from Time of the Titans. A bear dog watches on in disbelief, unable to comprehend what's going on, until the Intricathere calf wanders nearby and startles another, angrily defending her cubs. The noise she makes are like a dog's yelps and barks, but sound just different enough to be their own thing, which I appreciate. The calf panics and runs back to his mother, but all is well. He starts to mimic her behaviour in order to learn about the world, just how other animal offspring would, so they would learn survival skills. A juvenile male Intricathere arrives to greet the mother, who stands her ground and repels him. Unbeknownst to the calf, this is foreshadowing of his future. The dry season is only just starting, so many herbivore species gorge themselves on plants while they can. We see the Calicotheres do this as well as the mother Intricathere, with a beautiful shot from beneath as leaves cascade down towards the camera. The track that plays here is with heavy percussion and piano, similar to the music from New Dawn. The calf meanwhile imitates his mother and continues to learn more survival skills. However, a hyenodon is nearby looking for a meal. Fortunately for the calf, it decides to go after the Calicothere instead. As the predator chases down its prey, the Calicothere notices and rears up too late in an attempt to defend itself as the hyenodon attacks its throat. Some very tense drums help this along. Also, the screams of distress from the Calicothere are used a lot in these sorts of programs. The Toxodon also shares the same sounds as this in Prehistoric Park. The other two Calicothere look so dumbfounded at this, it's way too funny. The hyenodon starts to feed when suddenly a group of 3 entelodonts appear out of nowhere and try to steal the carcass.
The local bullies have arrived.
It's interesting to see the size of the hyenodon compared to the entelodonts, which are shorter in length, but just as muscular, as they take a Calicothere arm for themselves. Hog's blood plays again to add to the tension. The hyenodon then attempts to mark the scent of the carcass by defecating on it.
I'm about to defecate. Poo, 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 poo.
This, however, doesn't work, and the hyenodon retreats, leaving the kill to the hogs from hell. Bastards. 3 months later, and deep into the dry season, we see another Calicothere drinking from a shallow pool, when an entelodont arrives, being strangely unaggressive. The Calicothere, however, looks befuddled, and is likely wary. The Intricatheres are searching for water, and the calf is denied milk from his mother, who pushes him away, since she is dehydrated. The narration calls it his first time of hardship. Not the last, unfortunately. The sun sets on a beautiful shot, as the calf gets weaker from being smaller than the adult and desperately needs water. Travelling at night is easier for them, as it's cooler. The Intricathere theme plays again, but it's a sadder variation to complement the harshness of the dry season, with more piano included as well. All the night scenes are done in black and white, with a blue tint. Whilst travelling, the mother and calf are joined by an older female, who, because of her age, has more experience, and may be able to lead the others to water. The marching theme continues with a grandness to it that is similar to Time of the Titans, and the way they walk in front of the moon reminds me of the god Anosha jumping across a new dawn. The 3 giants finally find some water, so at least that has been resolved. They all fall asleep until sunrise, when the older female has departed. The calf wakes his mother up to get some milk. Thunder in the sky signals the arrival of the wet season and torrential rain. Some very odd slow motion and lower frame shots here. I love the line,
Everything changes in an instant.
as we're shown a hyenodon chasing an entelodont in a role reversal from earlier. How the tables have turned. For some reason, however, the camera freezes on the hyenodon mid-chase as it splashes through a puddle, in possibly another Matrix reference? I'm not sure. As a kid, I always used to think that this happened in real time and the hyenodon just froze. Not sure why. It's a cool use of CGI anyway, whatever it's supposed to mean. The Intricathere calf seems happy anyway.
Look at me, I'm happy.
The next morning, the rains have had their impact on the landscape, and flooding has occurred. 3 guesses as to which animal suffers the most. Yeah, it's the bear dog. This one's den has been flooded, and she desperately tries to find her offspring. Of course, because the bear dog is cursed with bad luck, she only finds one, and it's already dead. Jesus. It's a wonder this species is still alive, given how this episode portrays it. Elsewhere, a new river has been formed from the floodwater. Also, the same opening piece of music from the last track plays. The Intricathir pair have to cross it in order to find more food. Hopefully there's no chasmatosaurs waiting for them. The calf is reluctant, having seemingly never had a bath before, but eventually his compulsion to stay with his mother forces him to follow. The CGI interaction with the water still looks amazing to this day. The swim is the easy bit for the calf, who now comes face to face with a steep, muddy bank. Baby bear noises intensify. You literally have modern rhino sounds to use. Why do you pick something that's completely unrelated? Looking at you, Planet Dinosaur, with your overuse of bear and pig noises for reptiles. The mother Intricathir, meanwhile, just stands there, not offering any help to her calf. Couldn't she just go back down and push him up? Nah, she gives him a chance to do it himself, which I suppose is the more natural way.
He is on his own, and he doesn't like it.
I gotta get out of here!
By the looks of it, he could just go round to the side and would have a much easier time of it, but whatever. Eventually, though, he does make it up the bank.
And there was much rejoicing.
After that traumatic event, the calf is now forced to be weaned off milk to move on to solid foods. I really like the animation of his rejection from this, something we see again later. Oh, and Kenneth calling milk tipple is the best thing that ever happened. There's some beautiful time-lapse photography with leaves opening and the colour returning to the trees. Something that a lot of older nature documentaries would include, so it's not just about the animals, let alone just hunting, unlike some shows which completely focus on this, Planet Dinosaur. It's good to see a more vibrant and diverse world put to screen. A bit of music plays just to transition between segments of the episode, and it's a nice little unreleased track. Now we come to the mating season. A young male is on the trail of the calf's mother since she stopped producing milk and is receptive again. Another, older male also arrives for the same reason, showing off his aim as he does. The two males fight each other for the right to mate with the giraffe necking behaviour. If you've ever seen that, it's somewhat comical, but also lethal for the ones involved. What's also really cool is the ants in the foreground, which I never noticed for ages, but thankfully there aren't any Gastornis chicks nearby. Another piece of music plays with slow and ominous build-ups, which later changes to the Intricathir theme. The older male clearly wasn't prepared for the newcomer's strength and vitality, and so backs down, leaving the younger one to mate. This is a really cool shot with all three of them in frame, and the calf looking like the target with the male approaching. Narration explains the threat to calves from males who have the ability to crush and or kill the calves during mating. Not great news. The inevitable happens, and the gigantic mammals start to mate, keeping just PG enough for the rating. The calf meanwhile receives some violent kicks to the head from the uncaring male. The male stays by the mother to stop any other males from getting the chance to mate, so this won't be the last of the stress the calf has to experience. Cut to 2 years later, and with the dry season music playing again with a slightly unsettling piano melody, a group of Calicathers stride past looking weird as ever. The mother Intricathir is heavily pregnant and ready for another calf, completely unbeknownst to the male calf, who is now more independent and stays more apart. The mother also startles a couple of birds who fly away unidentified from a tree. Can't tell whether these are real animals or CGI added in later. It's very difficult to tell what they are, so I'll leave it there. If anyone knows what they could be, let me know. The calf is doing well and looks like he's enjoying life.
However, nothing he has learnt so far will prepare him for what is about to happen. In the morning, the calf will suffer the biggest upset of his life.
Damn, okay, that doesn't sound good. What dramatic irony is this? The fade from shots between them browsing to the pair sleeping before fading to black leaves the audience guessing what is about to happen. If you remember a scene from earlier, then this will be expected. The mother Intricathir is acting very aggressively towards her calf in the morning, her head held low and menacing towards him, which would be very intimidating for anything to encounter. The calf's reactions are really well done with a startled expression, straight neck and pricked up ears in alarm. He obviously wasn't expecting this to happen. The mother only does this to ensure the best survival of her new calf, and so can't deal with any competition, even from her current calf. She must chase him away. The calf walks away into the distance, while still looking back regretfully. Quite sad really, as the music plays with the sad brass notes. He is now on his own. The music really sells this sense of being alone as the camera tracks along the riverbank to spot the calf limping back the way he came. He arrives back where his mother is, who now has another calf, who of course doesn't realise it's looking at its own future either. The mother is also not tolerative of the male calf. He is only seen as a threat. Her posture immediately changes when she sees him, and she begins to chase him away again. This is when he truly realises that he's alone for the rest of his life.
Bummer.
3 months pass by with no sign of the calf. Is he dead? No, you fools, he's fine. Oh wait, there's an entelodont next to him. Oh no! Fortunately for the now not quite calf, he is more than capable of looking after himself as he chases the not quite pig away. Suddenly he also breaks the fourth wall and goes after the cameraman, who presumably gets squashed as we watch the camera tilt on its side and fall to the ground, with the Intricathea walking away in triumph. That man probably had a family, and no one seems to care. Was Nigel in charge of this crew? This is a slightly more light-hearted way to end the episode, at least with a happy ending. This episode has always felt a bit slow at times for me. I still really enjoy it, but there's too much emphasis on the Intricatheas, and not enough expansion on many of the other species in the episode, similar to the next. Thank you very much for listening, and look out for my review of episode 4, Next of Kin, soon.